All right, welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about problem set 3 and giving you a quick introduction to it. So problem set 3 is all about how do we model a string class. We've been using strings this whole semester, right? We've kind of taken some of what we can do with strings for granted. One of the things that Java does on our behalf without us even knowing it is it's constructing a string object every time we write one of these string literals. Behind the scenes, it's actually calling a constructor of the string class that looks something like this. And so string is just a class that is implemented like the silly string class we'll be implementing in this problem set. Some of the capabilities that a string has, we're going to be implementing in our own silly string class, and then we're going to have a few extra that we're adding on top. So one of the characteristics of a string that we can ask it for is what is a particular character at a given index, right? So we know that a string is made up of an array of characters, right? So this string of characters behind the scenes is actually stored as a character array. And its values look something like this. And I'm not going to write them all out, but just to give you a sense, here's our array. And let's say that keeps going. At index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have HELLO space, right? So if we ask the string, what is the character at index 1, it should give us an E. If we ask it, what is the character at index 4, it should give us an O. Let's try this out. Console.print s.char at index 1. We expect this to give us an E. Console.print s.char at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We expect that to give us the O. All right, so we should see EO print out, and there they are. So this is one of the methods that you'll have to implement. Another is called index of. So this is what allows us to ask a string, hey, what is the index of a particular character in the string? So if we're searching for a particular letter in the string, what is the index of it? So if we searched for the index of the letter E, we would expect it to give us back 1. Let's try that out. So s.index of the letter E and starting from index 0. So what this means is we're going to start looking at the beginning of the string. We'll show you how this works when we want to start somewhere else in the string later on. So I run this and we see that sure enough, E is at index 1, right? So H is at index 0, E is at index 1, and this told us the index of method allowed us to ask a string, hey, what is the index of this particular character? If we change this so that we started searching from index 2, right? So here is index 2, we're saying, what is the index of the letter E after this? And notice there is no further E. So we're going to get back -1. -1 is the index of method's way of telling us we couldn't find the character you were looking for. Now notice with O, this is a little bit different. So with O, if we start from 0, we will see that it should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be the first thing that gets printed out. So sure enough, index 4 is the first O. But if we start searching from index 5, so from this point forward, we see that the next O is going to be at 5, 6, 7, 8 is what we would expect to see. And there it is, right? And so our goal then is to actually implement a silly string class that allows us to carry out some of these same operations. So this problem set is broken into two classes, all right? So first is the test runner, and this is where the main method exists, all right? And so here we've set up some code to help you begin testing your silly string class. We've set up 3 silly string objects, one named empty, one named letters, and one named phrase. And you'll notice that we're beginning you off with an empty string, just some letters, and then a common phrase that you'll see in computer science. If you want to add other silly string test objects, you're free to, and we would encourage you to. And then what's happening is what we're saying here is we're calling some methods and we're printing out some diagnostic code. So what we're saying is for part 1.1 of the problem set, for the size method, we expect 0 to be printed out when we call size on the empty string, right? So there are 0 characters in this string. And what we're actually getting when we run this is Well, we're going to go call that method and see what it gives us back. And so the point of this is to help us test our code and to be able to repeatedly test it without having to rewrite new lines of code every time we want to test something in particular. And so we've provided some sample tests for you for the size method and the care@at method, and you'll have, and also the count vowels method. And then I think it's great practice, and if you want help in office hours, we encourage you to write your own test methods for the other pieces of this problem set that you're working on. So let's see what happens when we run this straight away. So what this is saying is when we called the size method on the empty string, we expected 0 to be printed to be returned to us, but actually we got -1. So we've got an error there. When we asked for care@, we expected a to be given back to us, but we got a question mark. Let's see why that is. So I'm going to open up silly string over in the side panel. All right, so here is the silly string class. And you'll notice that we provided some stencil code for you. So we've got you started with the field of a string, which is an array of characters, and with the 2 constructors you'll need to work with this problem set. The first one is the one that we're actually using in the test runner. So here, this constructor is saying we're giving you a string, and we're going to initialize our characters field to be the characters contained in that string. There are 2 other methods here that are just sort of utility methods that we need for testing, and then your work begins down here. And so here we found the size method, and we see that it is always going to return to us -1. So the purpose of this first method is to return to us how many characters are stored in our chars array, or in other words, how large is our chars array. This one sounds trickier than it is. It turns out that's just a property of an array, right? We know that we can ask an array for its length. And so the solution to this particular method is super tiny. It's asking the characters array, how many elements do you have in you, right? And so now when we run this, what we're going to see is that we should get back for the actual values an actual size of 0 for the empty string because it contains no letters, an actual size of 6 for these 6 characters here, so on and so forth. So let's try it out. And sure enough, now our expected value is matching our actual value. And so we can convince ourselves that, yeah, this method is actually working in the way that we expect it to. And so your job is to continue on and implement these next methods. The care@at has a similarly simple method implementation as the size. And then when you start getting to count vowels and count and index of, the implementations of these methods get a little bit trickier, right? Because you're having to loop through all of the letters in the string, or most of the letters in the string, in order to find a solution, right? So in this method, you're going to have to loop through every single element in the characters array and test whether or not it is indeed a vowel, a lowercase vowel, and if so, you're going to need to add 1 to some counter variable. Once you do that, you'll return the counter variable after you've looked at every single letter. Hopefully this helps you get started on problem set 3. If you still have questions, I would encourage you to come to office hours and also check out the video on parameters and return values that was posted on the homepage of the Completon website. Good luck with this. This is a tough, challenging problem set, but once you've gotten through this, you'll have a really firm and solid understanding of how we take a simple idea like an array and wrap it in a class, add some methods to it, and we have this new concept, something called a string, which is a very valuable tool in our toolbox. Good luck. Rock out.